Redline Logbook here to give you a Black Clover theory. I will say I did not originally think of this theory. This was a commenter in my videos. I cannot remember your name, but if you want to comment on this video and say that's you, I'm happy to point you out. This theory came along after Leviathan was revealed in the story, and that theory is that every single one of the Grand Magic regions are actually nests of very powerful monsters. Just as the underwater temple was the home of the Leviathan, there lurks basically a god-level beast within all the others. We know of very few of the Grand Magic regions. We know of the underwater temple, we know of the Great Volcano, we know of the Witch's Forest, and we know of the Gravity Rocks. But luckily for us, the manga has also shown other examples of strong magic regions, including an area covered in windstorms and a very sandy area. And of course, many more. And so I am going to give you a list of monsters I think rule over all of these regions. So let's start with the Grand Volcano. The Grand Volcano is a giant volcano surrounded by lava with mana so dense that if you don't learn mana skin, you'll basically die trying to walk up the mountain. Funny thing is that when nightfall happens, the dense mana just disappears, the heat disappears, and a hot spring appears. So it's perfect for training and then relaxing at the end of your training. Because of this, I believe the monster that is most likely living within this region is the Phoenix. This makes the most sense because the Phoenix is a firebird with intense power and strength and can annihilate things with its flame. But at the same time, it is also the bird of rebirth, which means when it dies, it resurrects itself. That just fits the lava pit, the fire, and then the hot springs, the healing. I cannot think of any more suitable creature living within this region. Next up, the Witch's Forest. Now, the Witch's Forest is very similar to the current Elf Forest, which is a heavily monozoned area that's very filled with plants and trees and such. Now, the Elf area has a dryad, so most likely the Witch's Forest is very similar. I don't think it's exactly a dryad. I believe the one living within the Witch's Forest is a treant. And the reason why I go with a treant is because of the Witch Queen herself. Treants are ancient beings that live for centuries. Well, they're literally trees. But that same exact thing fits the Witch Queen, who has been around for centuries. Now, the secret to her longevity is partially doing with her magic, because when she used up all of it to save everyone after the Paladin Damnado attack, it drained her to the point where she aged. Now, this could be the fact that she was using her blood magic to keep her alive, or it could be the fact that she has somewhat of a contract with a treant, and the treant gave her the ability to slow down her aging process using magic, or just halt it altogether. The reason why I go with this theory is because if it was just about her blood magic, allowing her not to age, then she could just turn back the clock again once she gets her magic back, because you don't just use up your magic and it disappears, it refills after a rest. But she heavily implies that she used it all up permanently, which means there's most likely the second source to where she gets her de-aging from. The Gravity Rocks. This one was actually kind of hard for me to think up, because gravity was discovered by Isaac Newton, and so there really aren't any ancient monsters that have an ability involving gravity, because no one throughout our mythologies ever, came up with the idea. I know this is kind of a cop-out, but when in doubt, just go with dragons. That's usually how things go. I mean, in the Far East, he had the 5-headed dragon, and Leviathan was more of a sea dragon than just a serpent. So yeah, I'm just gonna go and say that it's a dragon that manipulates gravity. I know, once again, cop-out, there really aren't any ancient fairy tales involving gravity manipulating monsters. But now we have a bunch of regions that have been shown, but not named. For example, a region that is completely sandy. That's right, there's a strong magic region that's literally a giant desert. And apparently the sand is alive, because what you see is a giant hand made of sand in it. Honestly, this would be a really cool place to actually visit, to see all kinds of creatures that live there and such. But, in my personal opinion, I think the thing that rules over this region is the Behemoth. Just like the Leviathan, the Behemoth is one of the two monsters that are basically bragged about by God that he created. One that ruled over the sea and the one that ruled over the land. The thing that makes the Behemoth so connected to the desert is a simple fact that it ate and trampled on everything. And so no life existed in its region. Basically, a desert. It caused deserts. So yeah, Behemoth, perfect. Another strong magic region that we see that we don't get a name for is one covered in storms. This should be easy. Thunderbird. It's literally a giant bird that creates thunderstorms. So if the entire area is created by a thunderbird just flying around, that makes perfect sense. Hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning, thunder that shakes the area. This would be perfect. And finally, a region covered in snow and ice. This has to be Fenrir. Just how Black Clover is heavily inspired by the Bible, it's also heavily inspired by Norse mythology. And so Fenrir, being the ruler of a region covered in ice and snow and just blizzards, would be perfect. Because while the apocalypse in the Bible is one of fire and brimstone, the apocalypse in Norse mythology is one of ice. So Fenrir just fits the best when it comes to a strong magic region covered in ice and snow. Now obviously there's more regions of the world that could possibly be strong magic zones, like a swamp or underground, or in some cases could even be in the atmosphere. But I think it would be fun to see what the comments have to say about these regions and such, and what monsters could possibly be ruling over them. But hey, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more Black Clover and other amazing things. Thank you, and have a great day.